My younger brother grabbed the gift my daughter gave him and said, "Chap, worthless junk." Then he tossed it back at her face right there at his own birthday party. My parents just smirked. I didn't argue. I pulled my investment, took back the BMW, and said, "From now on, you're on your own." He thought I was joking until everything vanished. I'm Marissa Caldwell, 40 years old, single mother, senior data analyst, pulling down $120,000 a year, working remote. For nearly a decade, I'd been the family bank. My parents' mortgage, I covered it. My brother's dream of opening a craft brewery in downtown Portland, I funded that too. $65,000 with his 2020 Audi as collateral. The arrangement seemed solid. Family helps family, right? That Tuesday afternoon, I'd reserved a corner booth at Jake's Grill for my brother's birthday dinner. 31st celebration. Just the four of us. Me, my daughter Sophie, and our parents. But when I called to confirm, Derek said he had other plans. Turns out those plans involved a backyard party at Mom and Dad's place in Southeast Portland, and we weren't on the guest list. Sophie saw the photos on Instagram before I did. She'd been working on Derek's gift for 3 solid months. A handcrafted leather journal with his initials tooled into the cover. Each page hand-stitched with waxed thread she'd ordered from a specialty shop in Seattle. She'd spent her allowance on brass corner protectors and a vintage compass rose stamp for the center. The kid was 14 and she'd poured her heart into making something meaningful for her uncle. "Mom, we have to go," she insisted, clutching that journal like it held state secrets. Her eyes shone with that teenage determination I knew better than to argue against. "Uncle Derek needs to see this in person." I grabbed my keys with a sigh that came from somewhere deep. 25 minutes later, we pulled up to my parents' house on Hawthorne Street. The place looked exactly as it always did. Faded siding, overgrown rhododendrons. Dad's collection of garden gnomes lining the walkway. But today, cars packed every available space, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, neighbors from 3 blocks over. Derek had strung cafe lights across the back deck, and folding tables groaned under platters of buffalo wings and cases of Modelo. Sophie jumped out before I'd even shifted into park, that journal tucked under her arm like treasure. We walked through the side gate into a scene straight out of a beer commercial. Derek stood at the center of everything in a fresh button-down I'd never seen. Craft IPA in hand, holding court with a circle of buddies from his brewing day, Sophie marched right up to him with that fearless confidence only teenagers possess. "Happy 31st, Uncle Derek." She held out the journal with both hands, presenting it like an offering. He glanced down, and I watched his expression shift. That smirk I'd seen 1,000 times before, the one that meant trouble, curled across his face. "What's this supposed to be?" He flipped it open, thumbed through the empty pages Sophie had prepared for his recipes and brewing notes. Then he snorted loud enough for half the party to hear. Handmade garbage, completely worthless. Before my brain could process what was happening, Derek hurled that journal straight into Sophie's face. Leather and brass met cheekbone with a sound that cut through the party music. She stumbled backward, the journal hitting the concrete with a crack that made my stomach drop. The entire yard froze. My father, Gerald, looked up from his lawn chair where he'd been monitoring his insulin pump. He chuckled. Actually chuckled like this was dinner theater. My mother, Patricia, wiping barbecue sauce from her fingers, shook her head with that expression she reserved for minor inconveniences. "Kids today with their little projects," she muttered to the woman beside her. A cousin I barely recognized pulled out her phone and started recording. Within seconds, the family group chat exploded. Laughing emojis, crying, laughing faces, messages like classic Derek energy and real family gathering right here. And guess who wasn't actually invited, lol? Sophie's lip trembled. A thin line of blood appeared where the brass corner had caught her just below the eye. I knelt down, picked up the journal. Saw 3 months of her late nights and careful work now split along the spine. Derek had already turned back to his friends, raising his beer like nothing had happened, launching into some story about hop varieties. I stood there with my phone already in my hand, took a quick photo of the Audi parked at an angle on the front lawn, his name on the title, My Collateral. Then I opened my banking app and screenshot the mortgage payment scheduled for Friday, $2,200, same as it had been for the past 8 years. I typed one sentence into the family group chat and attached both images. Everything stops today. You're on your own. Phones buzzed across every table like a swarm of mechanical bees. Derek's head snapped toward me, beer halfway to his mouth. You're kidding. I didn't answer. Sophie grabbed my sleeve and we walked out past those cafe lights while they were still trying to figure out if I was serious. The gate swung shut behind us with a metal clang that felt final. In the car, Sophie pressed napkins from my glove box against her cheek. Silent tears tracking through the blood. I started the engine, tires crunching on the gravel driveway. Derek's voice rose behind us. Marissa, wait. Come on. But I was already pulling onto Hawthorne Street, headed home. Back at our apartment in the Pearl District, Sophie showered while I stood in the kitchen staring at my phone. The group chat had devolved into chaos. My aunt demanding explanations, my mother's voice-to-text messages about family loyalty, Derek's increasingly frantic texts about how I was overreacting, how Sophie was too sensitive, how it was just a joke. I blocked the entire chat, every number, every contact. Sophie emerged from the bathroom with a butterfly bandage from our first aid kit carefully placed below her eye. She set the damaged journal on her desk, stared at it for a long moment, then opened her laptop and pulled up a new design file. Something angular this time. Sharp lines instead of curves. No sentiment, just structure. I logged into my bank account and navigated to the scheduled payments section. My finger hovered over the mortgage auto pay that had run like clockwork for 96 consecutive months. First Friday of every month, $200 from my checking to their account. I clicked Cancel Scheduled Payment. A confirmation banner flashed green across my screen. That's simple. That night, Derek left 6 voicemails. The first one angry. How dare I embarrass him at his own party? The second one confused. Surely I didn't mean it. By the 4th, he was bargaining. The 6th, at 2 in the morning, was just heavy breathing and slurred words I couldn't make out. I deleted each one without listening past the first few seconds. Sophie fell asleep with her desk lamp on, pencil shavings still scattered across her keyboard from sketching new designs. I sat on our couch in the dark, stared at the city lights outside our window, and felt something I hadn't experienced in almost a decade. Quiet. Real, genuine quiet. No guilt gnawing at my chest, no anxiety about next month's transfers, just silence. The next morning, I called Lawrence Chen, the attorney who'd handled the original loan paperwork. He answered on the second ring, voice crisp and professional despite the early hour. Marissa, I wondered when I'd hear from you. The brewery loan, I said. Derek's 3 months behind. I want to execute the collateral clause. I'll draft the demand letter this morning, Lawrence replied. Standard 30-day cure period, but given the delinquency timeline, we can expedite. I'll coordinate with the repo company I keep on retainer. The official notice arrived in Derek's inbox by 10:00 a.m. Subject line Notice of Default, Derek Caldwell Loan Agreement. I forwarded it to Valley Auto Recovery, the same company that handled repossessions for half the credit unions in Multnomah County. They confirmed pickup for the following morning at 9 sharp. No exceptions, no extensions, no negotiation. I brewed coffee and watched Sophie carefully reassemble her journal with wood glue and leather cement, working with the methodical precision she'd inherited from me. She didn't ask questions, just sanded the rough edges where the binding had torn, and replaced the damaged corner protector with a simpler brass plate. At 8:45 the next morning, my phone buzzed with a live stream link from the repo driver. I clicked it. The screen showed Derek's brewery storefront on Northwest Glisten, the hand-painted sign swinging in the morning breeze. Derek paced the sidewalk in yesterday's wrinkled shirt, yelling into his cell phone. The flatbed rolled up exactly on schedule. Two guys in neon yellow vests hopped out with the efficiency of people who'd done this 1,000 times. Derek lunged toward the driver's door. The repo man sidestepped smoothly, and his partner had the Audi hooked and lifted in under 4 minutes. Chains clinked, hydraulics hissed, and that $20,000 car rose into the air like a child's toy. Tourists stopped to watch. Phones came out. Derek chased the truck halfway down the block before it turned the corner, his voice fading into the morning traffic. The auction posted online that afternoon. Starting bid $28,000. Reserve none. Bids trickled in throughout the week. Phoenix dealers, a collector from Salem, someone from Bend who wanted it for parts. Final hammer price $39,000, wired to Lawrence's trust account by Friday. Close of business. Deficiency balance after the sale $36,000, now completely unsecured. Lawrence filed the judgment lien against Derek's future wages. Standard procedure, nothing personal, just business protecting my investment. I opened my banking app again and scrolled to the recurring transfers section. My parents' mortgage payment sat there scheduled for tomorrow, $2,200. Below it, their utilities bundle, another $400 for electric, water, internet, and gas. I'd been covering everything for so long I'd stopped seeing the individual line items. My thumb moved across each toggle. Off! Green confirmation banners flashed like tiny victories. The chain I'd been dragging for 8 years finally broke with a few taps on a screen. Derek started calling again at noon. I let every call go to voicemail, watching the notifications pile up. By evening, he'd left 11 messages. The preview text showed fragments. "We can fix this, and you're destroying everything, and what am I supposed to tell Sophie?" I powered down my phone and plugged it into the charger in another room. 2 days after the repo, a 3-day pay-or-quit notice appeared on the brewery door. Derek scrambled together partial rent using 3 different credit cards, bought himself 1 more week. But word travels fast in Portland's small business community. The story about the birthday party and the repo spread through Yelp reviews and Reddit threads. Customers who'd been regulars started going elsewhere. The shelves in Derek's brewery sat half empty. The fermentation tanks went cold after the power company cut service for non-payment. He tried running weekend pop-up sales at the Saturday market, hauling cases of his remaining inventory in a borrowed van, but the beer was already past its prime and everyone knew he was desperate. The landlord changed the locks exactly 14 days after that first notice. Derek showed up with a duffel bag to find a new chain across the door and his name scraped off the window. Security footage showed him kicking the door once before walking away. I printed the auction receipt and the deficiency notice, slipped both into an envelope, and mailed it certified to my parents' house. No note, no explanation, just numbers on paper. Sophie asked me once over breakfast if Grandma and Grandpa would be okay. I told her they were adults with options. She nodded and went back to her cereal, and I was grateful she didn't push further. Lawrence called at the end of the week, judgments recorded, garnishment order ready whenever he shows employment income again. "Thank you," I said, and meant it. Derek's last voicemail came at 2 in the morning, timestamp proof of how far he'd fallen. Sobbing, promising to pay double if I just restarted the mortgage payments. If I'd help him find a new space for the brewery, if I'd give him 1 more chance. His voice cracked on every word. I deleted the message, blocked his number across every platform I could think of, and went back to sleep without a single twist of guilt in my stomach. 3 weeks later, the pounding started at midnight. Sophie bolted upright in her bedroom, eyes wide with terror, then scrambled into her closet and pulled the door shut behind her. I heard her knees hit the floor, her breathing fast and shallow. I slipped out of my room and pressed against the hallway wall. my heart hammering as each knock landed like a sledgehammer against wood. The Ring app lit up my phone screen. Derek swayed under the porch light, shirt half untucked, bottle dangling from one hand. He slammed his fist against the door again. "You ruined everything, Marissa, my whole life." His voice slurred through the door panel, echoing down our quiet street. I heard a dog barking 3 houses down, lights flickering on in windows. Sophie whimpered from inside her closet. I moved to her doorway and whispered through the crack, "Stay there. Lock your door." She nodded, face pale in the darkness streaming from the hallway nightlight. Another bang rattled the frame. Derek kicked the baseboard and I watched splinters fly on the Ring camera feed. "Open up. We're blood." I dialed 911, keeping my voice low and steady. Intruder at my address, pounding on the door, intoxicated. "I have children inside." The operator asked if we were safe. Yes, locked inside. Security camera recording everything. She dispatched 2 units, ETA 4 minutes. I watched the timer on my phone count down while Derek's rage built on the other side of the door. Sirens approached fast. Derek heard them, turned, tried the door knob one last time. 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights washing red and blue across our building. Officers ordered him back, hands visible. He resisted, arms flailing until handcuffs clicked around his wrists. They loaded him into the back seat, confiscated the bottle. One officer knocked gently on our door. "Ma'am, you okay in there?" I opened it just enough to show my ID and let him review the Ring footage on his tablet. He nodded slowly, taking notes. "We'll book him for disorderly conduct and trespassing. You should file for a restraining order first thing tomorrow morning." The court clerk processed my restraining order by noon the next day. 200 yards minimum distance. No contact through any means. Effective immediately. Derek signed the paperwork at the station under duress. His eyes bloodshot in the photo they emailed me for my records. The first violation came 2 nights after the restraining order. Unknown number, voicemail, just breathing, and a hang-up. Police traced it to a burner phone purchased at a gas station on Division Street. They issued a citation, $500 fine, 90 days suspended sentence if he stayed clean. I ordered smart locks that afternoon. August brand app control delivered within 24 hours. I installed them myself while Sophie held the level, drilling new holes in the frame, testing the deadbolts until they slid smooth and sure. The confirmation chime sounded like safety. Sophie tested her access code 3 times that evening, her finger steady on the keypad. That night, she left her desk lamp on, and I understood why. The soft glow under her door became our new normal. Every night for a month, that light stayed on until dawn. Her closet door cracked open just in case she needed to hide again. Derek's mugshot circulated through the neighborhood watch app. Delivery drivers recognized him, refused to drop packages at my parents' house. The whole situation had become public in ways I never intended, but couldn't quite regret. Sophie started therapy through her school counselor. I attended the parent session, learned breathing techniques to teach her, watched her practice counting to 4 on each inhale and exhale. The therapist noted anxiety spikes around loud knocks, unexpected sounds, raised voices. One evening, an unfamiliar car idled across the street from our building. Engine off, driver just sitting there as a silhouette. I snapped a photo and sent it to the non-emergency police line. Turned out Derek had borrowed a friend's Honda. Another violation flagged, another fine issued. The judge warned him the next breach meant jail time. After that, he stopped showing up. Sophie's lamp finally clicked off on day 31 of our new routine. She emerged for breakfast with her hair tousled, managed a small smile. "I think we're okay now, Mom." I poured cereal and nodded, not trusting my voice. But my parents weren't done. They started appearing at my company's main gate during rush hour. Dad balanced on his cane, the rubber tips squeaking on sun-baked pavement. Mom clutched a flattened cardboard sign with "Ungrateful Daughter" inked in bold Sharpie. 4:45 p.m. Engineers in hoodies and sneakers poured out of the building. Some paused to read the sign. Others lifted phones to record. A white Tesla slowed at the curb, driver openly staring. The security booth radio crackled. I watched the lobby monitor from my desk on the third floor. Our open office layout giving me a clear view of the screens. HR was already on Slack. Gate incident. Need eyes on this. I sent them the external camera feed. 2 guards in navy polos stepped out, earpieces in, badges visible. Sir, ma'am, this is private property. You need to move to the public sidewalk. Dad straightened up, his voice rough from 50 years of cigarettes. She's my daughter. This is a family matter. Mom shoved the sign higher, nearly hitting a passing cyclist. The guards flanked them, palms open. No contact, but clear presence. They reached the property line and the guards delivered the verbal trespass warning. Return equals arrest. Dad grumbled something about lawyers and rights. Mom folded her sign, tucked it under her arm. They shuffled to their rusting 2006 Camry parked across the street, engine coughing to life in a cloud of blue smoke. I forwarded the security clip to HR that evening. Legal counsel drafted a cease and desist on company letterhead, emailed and certified to the Southeast Portland address where their mortgage was currently 30 days past due. Tracking showed Mom signed for it 2 days later. Subject line, cease all workplace contact immediately. HR filed a copy in my personnel record, flagged for escalation if anything else happened. 1 month later, the 3-day pay or quit notice appeared on my parents' front door in red tape. The auto pay I'd maintained for 8 years had stopped cold. First cycle missed triggered warnings. Second cycle triggered default. Balance owed $4,600 plus late penalties. Dad left a voicemail at our company reception desk. Tell Marissa her father's insulin costs real money. Reception forwarded it to HR. They added it to my file. I stayed silent, didn't respond, didn't engage. The 30-day eviction clock began with the court filing. A sheriff's deputy posted the yellow final notice in bold print. Lockout imminent. Moving day arrived cloudless and brutal. A U-Haul idled in their cracked driveway. Orange extension cords snaking to the garage for power tools and final boxes. Neighbors watched from behind blinds the way people always do when someone's life falls apart in public. Mom packed faded photo albums into plastic storage tubs labeled in Sharpie. Dad directed operations from a folding chair on the porch, his portable oxygen concentrator humming beside him. By noon, the house stood empty, keys on the kitchen counter, blinds half drawn, echoes where furniture used to be. New tenants, a young couple with a toddler and a golden retriever, signed the lease that same afternoon. The landlord swapped the locks and set up mail forwarding to general delivery. My parents checked into the Motel 6 off Powell Boulevard, room 14, ground floor by the ice machine. $900 cash up front for 30 nights. No credit card accepted. The neon vacancy sign flickered through their thin curtains all night long. Mom posted publicly on social media. Daughter evicted her own parents. Please pray for us. She tagged my work profile, my personal email, every connection we'd ever shared. I screenshot it, archived it with HR, and moved on with my day. Dad's blood sugar spiked, living on vending machine pastries and gas station sandwiches. The urgent care bill hit $1,200, mailed to the motel in collections. He couldn't pay. It went to a judgment, same as Derek's. Derek himself activated an Uber Eats account on a cracked iPhone. He'd borrowed a dented 2009 Civic from a buddy he knew from late-night casino runs. Phone mount suction to the dash. Red delivery bag in the back seat. Orders came sparse. Downtown salads during lunch rush. Late-night tacos from the food carts. Tips averaged $3. Gas cost $40 a day. He was breaking even at best, losing money most nights. He started sleeping reclined in the Civic's front seat in various Walmart parking lots. Dollar store blanket pulled up to his chin. Alarm set for 4 a.m. to catch the breakfast rush. His LA Fitness trial membership lapsed when his card declined. The gym flagged him, banned him from the property. Security logged a second gate visit at my workplace 3 weeks after the first. Mom arrived solo this time. Smaller sign on printer paper. Help your parents. She showed up at 4:30, carefully positioned just inside the property line. Guards intercepted her before the evening exit rush. HR issued a final trespass order. Copied to Portland Police campus-wide ban. Photos circulated to all security posts. If she returned, it would mean arrest. Dad tried emailing me through the public library computers. The subject line read, "You'll regret this." Our IT department's filters bounced it automatically. Security logged it anyway. The motel manager knocked on day 24. Extension payment due by noon. They didn't have the funds after the urgent care COA. They loaded their plastic tubs back into the Camry. Trunk roped shut because the latch was broken, and joined Derek at a different Walmart lot. 3 people, 2 cars, windows cracked to prevent fog. Derek ran morning burrito deliveries and brought back breakfast, hash browns, and senior coffee for Mom and Dad. Mom scrolled Indeed on her cracked Android, applying for cashier positions with no callbacks. Dad's insulin prescription ran out. He started rationing. I'd blocked all of them everywhere. Changed my numbers, set up forwarding addresses through a P.O. box service. Sophie asked once about her grandparents over breakfast. Actions have consequences, I told her, keeping my voice level. She nodded and went back to sanding a new puzzle box she was building. Sliding panels instead of hinges this time. Learning from what had broken before. Security feeds at work stayed clean after the ban. No more signs, no more confrontations, just silence spreading like clean water. 1 year passed. Then a letter arrived. Handwritten envelope postmarked from Gresham with no return address. My name scrolled across the front in shaky blue ink I recognized as Derek's. Inside 3 pages torn from a yellow legal pad, creased and stained with what looked like coffee rings. The handwriting deteriorated as it went, letters getting larger and less controlled. Marissa, I was wrong about everything. The brewery, the car, the money, all of it. I took you for granted. Dad's diabetes got worse at the motel. Doctors say he needs amputation below the knee if we can't pay for the specialist. Mom's working at Dollar Tree now. I'm still doing deliveries. Please forgive me. One last chance. We're family. I read it standing at my kitchen island, morning light slanting through the new blinds in our new townhouse. Sophie sat across from me, 16 now, hair longer, voice steadier, shoulders broader. She'd grown up a lot in that year. She glanced at the pages. Uncle Derek. I nodded. She pushed her cereal bowl away and waited, watching my face. I folded the letter once, placed it back in the envelope, and dropped it in the trash under yesterday's coffee grounds and banana peels. That afternoon, I drafted a single postcard. Plain white cardstock, no picture, no decoration. 7 words in my nest handwriting. We are no longer family, move on. I mailed it from the corner box. No return address, no signature, just the postmark. No money enclosed, no phone number to call back, no opening for further discussion. Derek never replied. The conversation ended there. One-way final. We'd moved 3 months earlier to this quiet subdivision north of the city. Adobe-style walls, citrus trees in the small backyard. New construction with 2 stories. Sophie's room overlooked the hills, and she'd claimed the garage as her workshop space. We'd changed every number, phone, work extensions, even the vet for the cat we'd adopted from the shelter. The forwarding service expired after 90 days. Old emails bounced back to senders. I scrubbed my social media profiles, made everything private, severed connections with anyone who might pass information to my old family. Sophie thrived in the new space. She'd set up a full woodworking bench in the garage with power tools she'd saved up for over 2 birthdays. She built a cedar jewelry box for her best friend with dovetail joints and a hidden compartment. She entered it in the county fair and took 2nd place. The trophy sat on our mantel, blue ribbon fluttering in the air conditioning breeze. Her therapy ended after 6 months. The counselor signed off with notes about resilience and healthy boundaries, emotional regulation, and strong support systems. I advanced at work, senior data analyst now, flexible hours, stock options that vested quarterly. My friend Casey and I co-hosted virtual game nights with our kids building Lego sets in the background. Normal and easy and uncomplicated. No more HR flags in my file, no gate photos, no incident reports, security feeds archived in blank. Rumors filtered through occasionally from distant cousins who didn't know I'd blocked them. Derek was still delivering food, the Civic on its absolute last legs. Mom and Dad rotated between weekly motel, living on food stamps now. Dad's foot had been saved by a charity clinic. Partial toe removal, walker required now for mobility. Mom cashiered at Dollar Tree, name tag perpetually crooked, scanning items for 8 hours a day. None of them attempted contact after that postcard. The message had been received finally permanently. Sophie asked me once during a hike up in Forest Park, water bottle in hand, trail dust on her sneakers. Do you ever miss them? I thought about the splintered journal, the midnight pounding, the cardboard signs outside my workplace. I thought about 8 years of automatic transfers and guilt and obligation that never ran both ways. I miss who I thought they were, I said, but that version never actually existed. She nodded, adjusted her backpack, and kept walking up the trail. Sunlight filtered through the Douglas firs. Birds called from the canopy and everything felt clean. Family isn't supposed to be an ATM. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to endless withdrawal, to taking and taking until there's nothing left. When you stop giving, the masks fall. You see clearly who stayed for love and who stayed for convenience. We built a smaller circle after that, tighter, more real. Sophie's laugh echoing through our new house. Tools humming in the garage as she worked on her latest project. Peace wasn't dramatic or explosive. It was quiet mornings with coffee and no dread. No auto drafts draining my account, no midnight knocks rattling the door. The lesson stuck with me like code I'd written that finally compiled clean. Protect your peace the way you'd protect your data. Test your boundaries regularly. Commit the changes. Deploy without regret. That's where my story ends. Not with reconciliation or forgiveness, but with clarity. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is close the door and walk away. Sometimes family is the people you choose, not the people you're born to. Sophie graduated high school last spring, got accepted to Oregon State for engineering. She's moving into the dorms next month. We packed her things together last weekend, including that second-place trophy and the repaired leather journal she keeps on her bookshelf as a reminder. She asked me before bed last night if I had any regrets. I told her the truth.